In a tropical paradise in the Philippines, the Maguad family epitomized happiness. Roberto and Maria, devoted parents, raised Marco and Lisa in a home filled with love and laughter. But beneath this facade, a storm was brewing. Imagine the horror that descended upon this small town when innocence was shattered, and the perfect life transformed into a nightmare. A complex investigation revealed dark secrets and unimaginable lies, exposing the fragility of life and the human capacity for evil. Justice would be served, but at what cost? The Maguad tragedy is a reminder that darkness can lurk in the most unexpected places and that the search for truth can unearth secrets that should never have been discovered. Prepare to delve into a heartbreaking story where hope and despair intertwine in a struggle for justice and healing. Life in the small Philippine town where the Maguad family lived was marked by an almost palpable tranquility. Mornings began with the gentle chirping of birds and the sun filtering through the leaves, creating dancing patterns on the ground. It was a place where children played carefree in the streets, and neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles. In the Maguad home, this serenity was even more evident. Roberto Maguad, the dedicated father, started his day early, preparing breakfast while Maria, his wife, organized the children's day. Marco, the eldest son, always helped his mother, demonstrating his responsible and caring nature. He was a constant presence in the life of his younger sister, Lisa, who admired him immensely. Lisa, in turn, was a curious young girl full of dreams, always with a book in hand and questions on the tip of her tongue. Weekends were especially precious for the Maguad family. It was common to see them in the backyard, where Roberto taught Marco how to play soccer while Maria and Lisa prepared a picnic with the family's favorite dishes. These moments were filled with laughter and stories, creating memories that seemed destined to last forever. The surrounding community was also like an extension of the Maguad family. Neighbors often gathered for community events, such as parties and bazaars, where Maria was famous for her delicious desserts. Roberto, always helpful, organized activities for the neighborhood children, ensuring everyone had a safe and happy place to grow up. However, even amidst this calm, there was something in the air, an indescribable feeling that, unbeknownst to anyone, foreshadowed a drastic change. It was as if nature itself was holding its breath, waiting for the unfolding of events that no one could foresee. This peace, which seemed impenetrable, was about to be shattered in unimaginable ways. You've just glimpsed the beginning of a story that promises to reveal the deepest, darkest layers of human nature. Just as the Maguad family's secrets are about to surface, there's much more to be uncovered on this channel. If your heart is racing, eager to unravel the mysteries hidden behind this facade of perfection, don't miss this opportunity. By subscribing now, you not only secure your place on this thrilling journey but also become part of a community seeking to understand the complexities of life and justice. Inside the Maguad home, the routine followed its usual course. Roberto, the father, had left early for work, while Maria, his wife, prepared breakfast for the children. Marco, the eldest son, was excited about his soccer practice later that day, and Lisa, the youngest, was eager to show her teacher the school project she had finished. The atmosphere in the house was one of joy and anticipation, typical of a normal day. Maria, always attentive, said goodbye to her children with a tight hug, wishing them a good day. Marco and Lisa left together, as usual, chatting and laughing as they walked to school. The image of the two walking side by side reflected the strong bond they shared. However, as the day progressed, a cloud of uncertainty began to hover over the Maguad family. Maria received an unexpected call from the school, informing her that Marco and Lisa hadn't attended their classes. A chill immediately ran down her spine. She tried to remain calm, thinking it might be a misunderstanding, but worry began to creep in. Roberto, upon learning of the situation, left work and rushed home. The couple, now gripped by anxiety, started calling friends and neighbors, hoping to find any clue about their children's whereabouts. The community, always close-knit, quickly mobilized to help with the search, demonstrating the strength of the bonds that united them. As the hours passed and the sun began to set, worry turned into despair. It was then that a neighbor, Carlos, known for his attention to detail, noticed something unusual at the Maguad house. The front door was slightly ajar, which was atypical for such a careful family. With a racing heart and a sense of urgency, he decided to check what was happening. Upon entering the house, Carlos was immediately struck by a deafening silence, a stillness that contrasted with the usual liveliness of the Maguad home. As Carlos walked through the rooms, each step seemed to echo in his mind. He called out for Marco and Lisa, but there was no response. It was upon reaching the living room that he encountered a scene he could never have imagined. The horror that unfolded before his eyes was unimaginable. The bodies of the siblings, Marco and Lisa, lay there lifeless amidst a scene of destruction. The shocking discovery was a devastating blow, not only to Carlos but to the entire community. The news spread rapidly, and despair gripped everyone. The Maguad home, once a symbol of love and unity, now became the epicenter of an unimaginable tragedy. Local authorities, led by Detective Ramon Santos, an experienced and respected investigator, quickly arrived at the crime scene. Detective Santos, known for his determination and attention to detail, took charge of the investigation, aware of the importance of solving the case not only for justice but also for the community's peace of mind. The Maguad house was immediately cordoned off, and a team of forensic experts began examining every corner for clues. It was a meticulous task that demanded patience and precision. Investigators collected DNA samples, fingerprints, and any other trace evidence that could provide information about what had transpired on that fateful afternoon. Meanwhile, Detective Santos began interviewing the family's neighbors and friends. He wanted to understand the dynamics of the Maguad family and whether there had been any signs of trouble before the tragic event. Carlos, the neighbor who found the bodies, was one of the first people to be questioned. He recounted in detail what he saw and how he found the house, providing valuable information for the investigation. The shaken community was eager to help. Many neighbors volunteered to provide any information that might be helpful, demonstrating solidarity and a collective desire for justice. Detective Santos also searched for security cameras in the vicinity, hoping to find footage that would reveal suspicious movements or clues about the perpetrator. As the investigation into the tragic murders of the Maguad siblings progressed, the search for suspects began to take shape. Detective Ramon Santos, with his experience and determination, knew he needed to explore every possibility to find the culprit. The community, still in shock, was desperate for answers, and the pressure to solve the case was palpable. Initially, the police focused on those close to the family. Friends and relatives were interviewed to understand if there had been any disagreements or conflicts that could have led to such a brutal act. The absence of signs of forced entry at the Maguad home suggested that the perpetrator was someone known to the family, someone they trusted. One of the first people considered was a former neighbor, Jorge, who had recently moved. He was known to have had disagreements with Roberto Maguad in the past over property issues. However, during questioning, Jorge provided a solid alibi, corroborated by several witnesses, clearing him of suspicion. Another focus of the investigation fell on an employee at Roberto's company named Luis. There were rumors that Luis harbored resentment towards Roberto due to a promotion he believed had been unfairly awarded. The police, therefore, investigated Luis's routine, analyzing his movements on the day of the crime. However, once again, the evidence was not sufficient to incriminate him. Meanwhile, Detective Santos explored other lines of inquiry. He considered the possibility of a crime motivated by revenge or jealousy. The investigative team began scouring the Maguad social media and communications, searching for any indication of threats or suspicious behavior. It was a painstaking task, but essential to understanding the context in which the crime occurred. As the investigation deepened, a new suspect emerged, a distant cousin of the family named Eduardo, who had visited the Maguads a few weeks before the crime. Eduardo had a history of trouble with the law and had exhibited strange behavior during his visit. The police began investigating his whereabouts and actions in the days leading up to the crime. The challenge of identifying the true motives behind the Maguad siblings' murders was immense. Each new clue seemed to raise more questions than answers. However, the determination of Detective Santos and his team remained unwavering. They knew that to bring justice to the family and the community, they needed to follow every lead to its end, no matter how difficult or complex the path might be. Dear viewers, the Maguad tragedy is not just a story. It's a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and the fragility of life we all share. I feel, like you, heartbroken, trying to understand how something so terrible could happen. In this moment of grief and reflection, your voice is more than needed. It's essential. What are you feeling right now? Anger? Sadness? Fear for the future of our own families? Don't keep these emotions to yourself. Share them in the comments. Your experience might be the comfort someone needs or the missing perspective that helps us understand this tragedy. The tragedy that befell the Maguad family not only devastated their loved ones but also left a horrific mark on the community where they lived. The town, once known for its tranquility and sense of security, was transformed into a place of mourning and uncertainty. The neighbors, who considered themselves part of one big family, now faced a reality that seemed straight out of a nightmare. From the moment the news of the murders spread, the atmosphere in the town changed drastically. The streets, which used to be filled with life and laughter, became silent and somber. People walked with their heads down, still trying to grasp how something so horrific could have happened in their own neighborhood. The school where Marco and Lisa attended became a focal point of grief and support. The siblings' classmates were visibly shaken, and the teachers, who knew them well, struggled to find words of comfort. In response, the school organized counseling sessions to help students cope with the loss of their friends and the pervasive sense of insecurity. Parents in the community also felt the impact profoundly. Many began taking extra precautions to ensure their children's safety, implementing stricter rules and supervising their activities more closely. The sense of trust that had existed among residents was shaken, and the need to protect their families became an urgent priority. Furthermore, the community united in a series of vigils and memorial events for Marco and Lisa. These gatherings served not only as a space to express grief and solidarity, but also as a powerful reminder of the importance of being there for one another in times of crisis. The vigils were marked by emotional speeches, music, and the lighting of candles, symbolizing the light the Maguad siblings brought into the lives of everyone who knew them. The impact of the murders on the community was profound and lasting. Yet, amidst the pain and sorrow, a strong desire for justice and change emerged. The tragedy served as a catalyst for discussions about community safety and the need for constant vigilance. People began to engage more actively in local initiatives, seeking ways to ensure their streets once again became a safe and welcoming place. As the investigation into the tragic murders of the Maguad siblings progressed, Detective Ramon Santos and his team encountered a series of twists and turns that would change the course of the case. What initially seemed like a crime with clear motives began to unravel as more complex and intricate than anyone could have imagined. One of the first breakthroughs came when the investigative team gained access to security camera footage from a store near the Maguad home. The footage captured an unfamiliar car circling the neighborhood on the day of the crime. This vehicle became a crucial lead, prompting investigators to trace its origin and owner. After a thorough analysis, they discovered the car was registered to a man named Felipe, who had no apparent connection to the family. Felipe was quickly located and questioned. During the interrogation, he revealed that he had lent the car to a friend named Raul, who was in town at the time. Raul, an acquaintance of the Maguad family, had recently visited the town, but no one suspected his involvement. This revelation brought a new perspective to the case, raising the possibility that Raul might have valuable information or even be directly involved in the tragic events. Meanwhile, another surprising discovery emerged during the analysis of Roberto Maguad's phone records. The logs showed a series of calls and messages exchanged with an unknown person in the days leading up to the crime. The investigative team began tracking this individual, who turned out to be a former co-worker of Roberto's named Clara. Clara admitted she had been in contact with Roberto to discuss financial matters but denied any involvement in the crime. This new information further complicated the case, leading Detective Santos to re-evaluate all the evidence gathered so far. The motives behind the murders became murkier, and the list of suspects grew, including individuals who initially appeared to have no connection to the crime. Amidst these twists and turns, the pressure on the investigative team mounted. The community, eager for justice, closely followed each new development, while the local media covered the case intensely. Detective Santos, determined to solve the mystery, knew he needed to pursue every lead with precision and caution, ensuring no stone was left unturned. After weeks of intense investigation and numerous twists, the team led by Detective Ramon Santos discovered that the key to unraveling the mystery came from an unexpected lead. During a review of all the collected evidence, the team found a small inconsistency in the statements of Raul, Felipe's friend who had been seen near the Maguad home. Raul had previously mentioned that he was just passing through town, but new information revealed that he had spent more time there than initially stated. Under renewed pressure, Raul finally confessed that he was in town at the request of a third person, someone who had a hidden interest in the Maguads. This person was Clara, Roberto's former co-worker, who was involved in an illegal financial scheme with him. Clara feared that Roberto might expose her illicit activities, and in a desperate act, she decided to take drastic measures to protect her secret. The plot thickened when messages were found between Clara and Raul, discussing plans that suggested a meeting with Roberto. Initially, Raul was unaware of Clara's intentions but ended up becoming more involved than he wanted. When confronted with the evidence, Raul decided to cooperate with the police, providing crucial details that led to Clara's arrest. Raul's confession and the compelling evidence against Clara brought both relief and sadness to the community. The truth, though painful, finally came to light, revealing the complexity of human motivations and the lengths to which some people will go to protect their interests. With Clara in custody, justice began to be served for the Maguad family. The community, despite the pain, found a sense of closure and began to rebuild their feelings of safety and trust. Detective Santos, who led the investigation with tireless dedication, became a symbol of hope and resilience for everyone. With the truth finally revealed and those responsible identified, the next crucial step in the pursuit of justice for the Maguad family was the judicial process. Clara, the mastermind behind the tragic crime, was formally charged, and the trial promised to be an event of great public interest, attracting attention not only from the local community but also from across the country. The courtroom was packed on the opening day of the trial. Family, friends, and community members gathered, eager to see justice served. The judge presiding over the case, the Honorable Judge Enrique Morales, was known for his impartiality and firmness, ensuring a fair trial. The prosecutor, Ana Delgado, an experienced and determined lawyer, presented the case against Clara with precision and clarity. She detailed the financial scheme Clara had orchestrated and how her fear of being exposed led her to commit such a horrific act. Ana used the evidence collected by the police, including the messages exchanged between Clara and Raul, to build a solid case that clearly demonstrated Clara's guilt. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to argue that Clara had not intended to cause the deaths of the Maguad siblings and that her involvement in the crime was an error in judgment. They tried to paint a picture of Clara as a person pressured by circumstances, but the evidence against her was overwhelming. During the trial, several witnesses were called to testify, including Raul, who, in exchange for a reduced sentence, agreed to testify against Clara. His testimony was crucial, providing a detailed account of the events and confirming Clara's role in the crime. Raul's presence on the witness stand was a tense moment, but his cooperation with the prosecution helped solidify the case. The trial days were intense, with moments of emotion and shocking revelations. The community followed closely, and every new piece of information brought to light in court was discussed fervently in the streets and homes. The Maguad case wasn't just about finding justice for one family, it was also about restoring trust in a system meant to protect the innocent. Finally, after weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury retired to consider their verdict. The courtroom was silent as they returned. Judge Enrique Morales, known for his firm and impartial stance, asked everyone to rise as the verdict was read. The jury, after lengthy deliberations, had reached a unanimous conclusion. Clara, the main defendant, was found guilty on all charges, including conspiracy and murder. The announcement of the verdict was met with a mix of relief and sadness. For the Maguad family, represented in court by close relatives, the decision brought a sense of justice, even though the pain of their loss remained intense. The community, which had closely followed every step of the proceedings, felt a mix of emotions, knowing that justice had prevailed but aware that nothing could bring Marco and Lisa back. With the verdict delivered, Judge Morales proceeded to determine the sentence. In his words, he highlighted the gravity of the crime and the devastating impact it had on the family and the community. He emphasized the need for a punishment that reflected the seriousness of the acts committed and served as a deterrent to future crimes. Clara was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The sentence was announced clearly and decisively, with Judge Morales underscoring the importance of protecting society from individuals who choose to follow the path of crime. With the conclusion of the Maguad siblings case and justice finally served, the community began to reflect on the events that had transformed their lives so profoundly. The tragedy brought forth a series of valuable reflections and lessons that would resonate long among the residents and beyond. The first and most evident lesson was the importance of vigilance and community solidarity. The community realized that even though they lived in a peaceful place, it was essential to always be mindful of their neighbors' well-being and maintain a sense of unity and mutual support. The Maguad case highlighted how collaboration between residents and authorities could be crucial in solving crimes and preventing future tragedies. Moreover, the tragedy served as a grim reminder of the complexity of human motivations. The involvement of Clara, someone initially considered a friend of the family, showed that appearances could be deceiving and that it was necessary to be aware of warning signs, even in those closest to them. This realization led many to reevaluate their relationships and the importance of cultivating trust and honesty in their daily interactions. The resilience demonstrated by the Maguad family and the community was also a powerful lesson in strength and determination. Even in the face of unimaginable loss, they found ways to come together, support each other, and tirelessly seek justice. This collective strength became an inspiring example of how to face adversity with courage and hope. The case also highlighted the importance of the justice system and the vital role it plays in society. The dedication of Detective Ramon Santos and his team, as well as the commitment of Prosecutor Ana Delgado and Judge Enrique Morales, reinforced trust in the judicial process and the ability of institutions to protect citizens and punish the guilty. Finally, the story of the Maguad siblings and the impact of their loss motivated many in the community to become more actively involved in local initiatives and promote a safe and welcoming environment for all. The tragedy served as a catalyst for positive change, encouraging people to unite around common causes and work together to build a better future. The case of Marco and Lisa Maguad left a horrific scar on the community, transforming the pain of a tragedy into a legacy of hope and unity. As time passed, the siblings' memory continued to inspire positive action and change, ensuring that their lives, though cut short, left a lasting impact. The Maguad story began to be told in schools and community events, not only as a reminder of the fragility of life but also as an example of resilience and solidarity. Teachers incorporated the story into their lessons, using it as an opportunity to teach empathy, the importance of safety, and the need to be aware of warning signs in our surroundings. In honor of Marco and Lisa, the community decided to create a memorial park, a space of peace and reflection where people could gather, remember, and celebrate the siblings' lives. The park, with its flower gardens and quiet benches, became a symbol of renewal and a place where residents could find solace and inspiration. Moreover, the tragedy motivated the creation of a foundation in the Maguad's name, dedicated to supporting vulnerable youth and promoting community safety initiatives. The foundation organized workshops, lectures, and mentoring programs, all designed to empower young people and foster a culture of care and mutual responsibility. Marco and Lisa's parents, despite their insurmountable pain, found the strength to become active advocates for justice and community safety. They shared their story at conferences and events, highlighting the importance of an efficient justice system and united communities. Their courage and determination inspired many to become more actively involved in their own communities. Dear viewers, the Maguad story reminds us of the fragility of life and the power of justice. If this narrative has touched your heart, if you felt this family's pain and the strength of a united community, show your support with a like. Each like isn't just a click, it's a gesture of solidarity, a candle lit in memory of Marco and Lisa, a sign that their lives and this story matter. The case of Marco and Lisa Maguad quickly transcended the boundaries of their small community, capturing the nation's attention. The impact of their tragic story resonated in homes, schools, and institutions, prompting a wave of reflection and action on a national scale. As news of the murders spread, national media outlets began covering the case intensely. Television programs, newspapers, and online platforms dedicated significant space to discussing the details of the crime, the investigation, and the subsequent trial. This coverage not only kept the public informed but also generated a broader debate about safety, justice, and social responsibility. The national impact of the Maguad case was reflected in various governmental and social initiatives. Local and federal authorities began reviewing and strengthening public safety policies, prioritizing the protection of children and families. Educational campaigns were launched to raise awareness about warning signs in at-risk situations and the importance of a swift and effective response. Furthermore, the Maguad story inspired legislative changes. Lawmakers, moved by the tragedy, proposed new laws aimed at improving community safety and providing greater support to victims of violent crimes. These legislative proposals were widely discussed and received significant public support, reflecting a collective desire for change and prevention. The case also had a profound impact on the education system. Schools across the country began incorporating emotional education and safety programs into their curricula, teaching students to identify and report suspicious situations. Teachers and administrators received additional training to handle crises and support students in times of need. The Maguad siblings' influence extended to non-governmental organizations and advocacy groups, which intensified their efforts to protect children and support families affected by crime. These organizations worked closely with communities and governments, promoting safety initiatives and offering resources to those at risk. The national impact of the Maguad case not only brought about structural and legislative changes, but also united people from different backgrounds in a shared effort to create a safer and more compassionate environment. Marco and Lisa's story became a symbol of hope and resilience, inspiring individuals and communities to come together around values of empathy, justice, and mutual protection. As the story of Marco and Lisa Maguad draws to a close, we are reminded that although time passes, the memory of their lives and the impact of their tragedy should remain alive in our hearts and minds. The conclusion of this case is not just an ending but an ongoing invitation to reflect, learn, and act. The community where Marco and Lisa grew up, though deeply scarred by grief, found ways to honor their memories. The memorial park, flourishing with life and color, is a tangible testament to the beauty the siblings brought into the world and the community's commitment to never forgetting what happened. It's a place where laughter and memories intertwine, serving as a constant reminder of the importance of unity and vigilance. Marco and Lisa's parents, Maria and João Maguad, have become powerful voices in the fight for justice and safety. In their public appearances, they share not only the pain of their loss but also the hope that their experiences can prevent future tragedies. They work tirelessly with the foundation established in their children's name, promoting programs that educate and protect young people across the country. The legacy of the Maguad siblings is also reflected in the lasting changes their story inspired. The legislative reforms, community safety initiatives, and educational programs implemented after their deaths are a tribute to their memory and an important step toward ensuring that their lives were not lost in vain. On a broader level, the Maguad story challenges us to consider our role in creating safer and more compassionate communities. It reminds us that the responsibility to protect one another does not rest solely on the authorities but on each of us. By remaining vigilant, caring for each other, and promoting justice and empathy, we honor Marco and Lisa's memory in a meaningful way. As the documentary concludes, we are left with a powerful message. Never forget. Never forget the joy and light Marco and Lisa brought into the world. Never forget the pain of their loss and the lessons learned. And above all, never forget the importance of continuing to fight for a world where all children can grow up safe and loved. The story of the Maguad siblings is an enduring reminder that even in the darkest of circumstances, we can find strength and hope in unity and the determination to never forget. May their lives and legacy continue to inspire action and change for generations to come.